Do you believe in miracles? We got Fizzle in the house. Fizzle, what's good, man? Fizzle, glad to have you here.
Let's go. This the South Harmon Podcast. Glad you here today. Hit that Patreon link if you here to stay. Dynasty best ball, that's my favorite way. 40 chess trade show. Let's make a trade today or check a AMA. You know Adam at the ATM. Mike always in the building. He gon' stay with him. They gon' start every show off with their own trade. Fantasy's a big ocean. They made their own wave. Make sure you tapping in Tuesdays and Saturdays. Tuesday night, Saturday morning, ain't no better way. Hit that notification bell when the news break. Go subscribe right now, don't get the news late. Destination Devy, that's the team. Dynasty football, man, that's my favorite thing. I remember Biggie said it was all a dream. Now people watching on their phones and computer screens. Welcome to the team. Let's start the show.
What's good, everybody? Welcome back into another episode of the 40 Chess Dynasty Trade Show. As you can see, there's no overlay. There's no Mike. There's nobody else. It's just me. Mike's off gallivanting in Florida, having the time of his life. As a matter of fact, you're going to take a look at the deal. We'll start off with his, since he's not here to defend it. Deal. He says he couldn't even put in the Shithead Trades channel what league it was. He said, Ryan, I'm too drunk. You put it in there. So Ryan did that. We'll start off with that. And while Mike's not going to be here to defend his deal, he's also not going to be here to save you. It's just me. There's no Mike to save you on your end of the deal. If you make a shitty deal, I'm telling you, you made a shitty deal. If you do want your deals featured on this show, patreon.com/South Harmon. For now, $1 a month gets you in the door. Go ahead, put your trade in the Shithead Trades channel. You'll have a chance, just like a bunch of people here today, to get your deal reviewed on this show. If you could go down, at least hit the like, subscribe button. We'd greatly appreciate that. One thing I would recommend doing that I'm going to be looking at through all these deals here for the people that gave me enough context to do so is taking a look at the WoRP tool. So southharmonff.com/WoRP. And if you go to that for $6.90 a month, you'll be able to take a look at all the trades that you could make with the WoRP chart, utilizing that for however many different leagues you're in, whether it's 3, 5, 10, or upwards of that. The more leagues you're in, the different scoring settings, the WoRP chart is going to be something that can really help you out with trades and just analyzing your league. And on that note, Scott and I are halfway through our Dynasty Mind WoRP series. As soon as that's finished, it'll be available on the South Harmon FF website. So make sure you're tapping into that to go check all that out. We got some gear there for you too. But without further ado, Mike's not here to defend it, but we're going to go ahead and get into his deal. So let's see what Mike did. While he's drunk, in Florida, he has to make some dynasty trades. I do respect that. So let's take a look. 12-team, 2-quarterback, PPR, full PPR, best ball, start 13. So it's a best ball league. It's going to be some sort of tiered PPR, knowing how Mike tends to score these leagues. I'm in this league. Since it's 2-quarterback as well, that does matter. But the start 13 is the first thing I'm looking at here when I see this. Best ball with deep starters of start 13. Depth is something here in this type of format, knowing how this is going to be like roster 35-ish plus. This is a very big depth league. Now, we look at this trade, right? So the trade is Mike is acquiring Chris Olave and Breece Hall, and he is sending away Jamar Chase. So I think on paper, just when I look at this deal, Jamar Chase is one of these guys, even in best ball, that his value is extremely high and it's extremely safe. So obviously there's a lure there. I mean, this is a guy that's going to be probably going in the first round of this startup. So there's definitely a big gap between Jamar Chase and Chris Olave for me. Breece Hall coming into the mix, though, in a best ball start 13 makes this really intriguing. The way I dynasty, the way I think about a league like this, and a lot of these best ball leagues, Mike and I are in where we're starting 13. You get to this level, I tend to want to tear down a guy like Chase for something like this. But what I'm going to do is take a look at the WoRP tool. The Dynasty Mind WoRP series that Scott and I are doing, it's going really well. And it's not that WoRP hasn't been something we've been looking at for a while, but the deeper you dig into each one of these leagues, you'll start to realize how WoRP is something that is going to be even more of a weapon that I'm using to break ties, to give myself little edges over and over. So when I look at this WoRP graph, and I'll put it up here for everyone can see, the first thing I'm noticing, right? So when you take a look at the graph at first, let's take a look at the graph and just see how steep that line is, right? You're looking at, Travis Kelce here at 3.48 WoRP. Like even at start, like that is humongous WoRP, 3.48. Mahomes at 3.3, Justin Jefferson 3.16, right? So even the top running back at 2.9, very, very high WoRP coming out of the top player at their position. And then as you start to see this graph continually go down, like that line is really steep all the way to 6, right? Because by the time you get to 6, at basically the cross for all of these positions, even at quarterback, I mean, you're looking quarterback actually drops below 2. CeeDee Lamb is at 2.03. Tony Pollard's at 2.16. So when you're looking at a 3-2 WoRP, obviously that's a big drop off. And then you'll see it starts to even out more so here around 12 to 18. The difference is not that much, 1.5 to 1.33. So I'll say this. When I look at this deal, like I do understand why you would want to go to Chase in a league like this when you see WoRP like this. Now, Chase last year, for those who want to know, he's 1.86. But when I think about this deal, let's even say you project him to be someone that's going to get close to that 2.5, stays in this 2 range, has upside of maybe getting close to 3. Okay, so I get it, and it's a solid player that you want to have in your lineup. But when I'm thinking about start 13, you really don't have the ability and the luxury to just throw away 2 pieces that are so highly valued. So, I mean, I could see this being a scenario where if Breece Hall starts slow and Chris Olave, let's say, isn't quite realizing the points per game we all hope, even with Derek Carr coming over. Like I could see how early on, maybe Chase, it's feeling like that's a win. But, man, if you do things like this, they have to be so one-off, and you have to now think about your team in a way where, how am I going to backfill? Now, if you're really crafty and you're going to do everything that you should as far as roster construction goes and making your team deep in ways that are going to cost you not a whole lot, whether that's fab, trading, other type of tear downs off of assets that aren't as high as Chase, you could probably get away with moves like this here and there. But by and large, this is how you get burnt. When you don't have enough depth and when you tier up, even if it's for a guy like Chase, you have to backfill, man. When the bye weeks come, starting week 5, like to have a true good team with start 13, you're going to want to have, 25 guys minimum that have a realistic shot of making your lineup weekly. So giving up a Olave and a Hall is tough for me to do, because when I look at it, even if Chris Olave doesn't take a huge step forward, when you look at what's probably going to happen weekly, and WoRP really is run weekly, right? And the way you play your leagues, I see this having – I see it more downside for the Chase side than maybe you probably are looking at this and think for yourself. For me, I want the Olave and Breece Hall side. I'll admit it's close, but because I see how good this running back line is, which I haven't even got to, it doesn't have to be this season. Breece Hall trades very, very well in Dynasty. He has very insulated value coming off that injury. And if he does eventually get back to his home run ability, the things we saw from Breece Hall early, like I see a scenario where he also now is at that 2 WoRP. So if let's say he's at 2 WoRP and a top 12 running back, plus you have even, let's say Olave's more like wide receiver 12 to 15, typically I want that 2 for 1. So Ryan, I'm not saying you got crushed in this deal or anything. I'll let Mike tell you that while he's drunk, but I couldn't do this personally. I don't think I could do this personally. And I also know this league hasn't been around long enough for someone to have a crazy deep team to where you can say, all right, like I can afford a tier up like this. Still a relatively new league, so I don't think I could make that deal to consolidate for Chase. Even though in value, you're probably saying it's not that crazy. It's only a running back. Best ball is very different. Start 13 is very different. So that's the way I look at that first one. I mean, I hate to agree with, what Mike did while he's drunk in Florida, leaving me here doing the trade show all by my damn self, but I ain't going to lie. I'm not going to stunt. Sorry, Ryan. That's the way it is. All right. So getting into the next deal here. Listen, Stopa is the gift that keeps on giving. All right. Look at this. Stopa's mess is still being, like the taint is still everywhere. Stopa is still causing issues in this league. Look at this trade. So Deep Sea 86 has to take over Stopa's mess, right? He's crying, he's kicking and screaming, all that money he has, and he's leaving this league inside the startup. So Deep Sea 86, of obviously a member of ours, he comes in, I'll take over the Orphan. Obviously, the reason Stopa left is not have anything to do with the money or the fact that he's kicking and screaming, crying and pouting, didn't like that it was on Twitter. Why? It's because he made a terrible, terrible decision in the startup, trading up, not getting. It's just you can't go to the point where he has Brock Purdy as his quarterback one. So now you got Deep Sea 86 who's trying to make it right. He's in a bad position. So this is crazy. Russell Wilson. So understand also Slemmo is the person that was hoarding, right? And he's a shithead. So the deal here is Russell Wilson is going to Deep Sea 86. Slemmo is getting a 25 first of Deep Sea 86, a 25 second of Deep Sea 86, and then a 26 first of Deep Sea 86. Whew. This is a 12-team Superflex best ball, tiered PPR, start 12. This league is called Dynasty BB, and it's money sign L, money sign O, money sign L. Obviously, added that in for the whole Stopa walkout. Now, let's talk about this deal for a second. And I have the WoRP pulled up, and the only reason I do is not necessarily because it's that close of a deal, but I just want to talk about, for in a league like this, if you do have the WoRP tool, if you're thinking about getting it, and why you should, where you can kind of read it and look into. I'm not saying you make a deal like this. There's almost never am I going to pay 2 firsts and a second for Russell Wilson right now in market. But, maybe there's a scenario in WoRP where you can look in this league and say, man, this is juice quarterback scoring. Look at how the graph looks relative to the other skill players. I'm not saying you pay this for Russell Wilson, but maybe you're willing to go above market. So point is, let's take a look at this graph. Very, very steep up high, which is very, very typical in almost all these leagues, including best ball. But the drop, what's crazy here is, there's some drop from 4 to 5 last year. But Burrow, who's basically rivaling, all the like Kelsey and Justin Jefferson, basically similar in WoRP. Justin Fields goes down to 1.68, which then is below both running back and receiver, right? And if you look, it never really recovers. Look at that red line, all right? So look at the graph here and see that the red line never really recovers. And by the time you get to 18, not only does it not recover, like it's kind of hovering around, right? From basically, let's call that, 7, going down to right here at about 16. That quarterback line is basically hovering the wide receiver and the running back. When you get to 18, now it's starting to trend below that line, and when you get to 24, you're losing. Now, let's talk about Russell Wilson. Like Russell Wilson, I think in this year is going to have a I'm not going to say he's going to get back to, the Seahawks, Russ, but like I don't see him playing possibly any worse than he did last year. You look at how that offense was, new coaching situation. He's got all new receivers. He's dealing with injury. I don't foresee him being that bad. Now, just to give you context, let me just find it here. Last year in WoRP, where are you, Russell Wilson? All right, so here he is. Quarterback 20, 0.82 in WoRP. Now, so let's say the scenario is for you that Russell Wilson, you can see a scenario where he is in WoRP, 13, 12, 15, something like that. Okay, so you're getting, a little over 1 in WoRP probably. It's very good. Like I definitely want that on my team in a best ball that's super flex. We're starting 12. But when I look at the WoRP on this and you see, right, like realistically, I just want people to kind of get a context and understand what I'm talking about here. Russell Wilson at 0.82 WoRP. That realistically is the same as wide receiver 34, right? Like there's not much difference in WoRP there from what he was last year. Now, obviously, he can go higher, but like I think at this cost, it would be very uncomfortable. But at this cost, I'd almost just I would bite the bullet and try to essentially start throwing in a couple of these low-end quarterbacks that I can get for much cheaper. Basically, not get Slenmo, who's quarterback hoarding, I'm not going to just give in to his pricing. I'd rather shoot lower, maybe give me 2 or 3 of these dart throws that are going to cost me seconds, or maybe I'll just stream for a little bit, try to figure out my team without leveraging now, because here's the problem. You've leveraged 25 and 26. You have no outs, and you don't even know what this team's going to look like. This is fresh off a startup. So that to me, I get the position you're in, but I couldn't do it, man. I could not lean this far into that team knowing that it's not a guarantee that this is even a team that's even going to win. So when I look at it, I want Slimmo side by a mile. I think this is another example of where quarterback hoarding, obviously Stopa's whole mess, it works. It can work if you're the person that's willing to stand strong, hold the quarterbacks at all costs until they get the deal that you want. So not that close in value here for me. Like, I understand wanting to overpay a little bit to get that quarterback security at my quarterback too. And I'm in on Russell Wilson this year as somewhat of a bounce back candidate. Not like necessarily a difference maker, but at this price, nah. If this is a 25 first and a second, let's even say it's a 25 first and a 24 second, something like that. Yeah, okay. Like, you're not getting broken off there, right, in value. Like, I could definitely make the case for that. I probably could even say, man, it feels really gross, but add a second in. Like, if you really wanted to force buying and that's the best you can do, like, I probably wouldn't even be that comfortable there, but I could see the scenario of why you're doing it. You throw this extra first in there, and there's just no way. I'm walking away from this deal. So that's my personal opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the chat if it's any different. I don't see it being that way, but let me know what you think. All right, so let's get into the next deal here. This is Cody C. Smith TFDR. All right, so we're looking at a 12-team Superflex. It's a lineup start 10. Tight end premiums 1.5. One league to rule them all. So just thinking about it, right? This is a shallow lineup league. We're starting 10. Tight end premiums 1.5. So it's one of these where in the market probably people react to that, but it's not typically a very, very high difference-making premium yet at the tight end position. So let's take a look at the WoRP and see what it looks like. While that WoRP's loading, I told you guys, Mike's not going to be here to save you. I'm not sugarcoating shit today, all right? It's me by myself on the trade show. I'm out here drinking by myself. You know how terrible it is to be drinking by yourself. Y'all are going to feel the wrath today. Just watch, all right? No bullshit. All right, so take a look at the WoRP here. Pulled that up. Now let's talk about the trade. 12-team Superflex lineup, start 10, tight end premiums 1.5, one league to rule them all. Certified Ass Man is sending away Josh Jacobs, Tucker Kraft, as well as the Bengals defense. I had a hard time even putting this on the show just because when I read that wasn't like, a kicker, a placeholder. It was actually a defense in this league. So, like, one league to rule them all. I'm going to tell you, this is one league I'm getting the hell out of. Not one league to rule them all. Anyway, side tangent. Cody's receiving Devin Singletary, 25 first and a 24 second. Okay, so we already see here this 24 second is coming from a team that's not in the trade. JM Figueroa. We have you're getting certified ass man's 25 first. Before we talk about WoRP, I'm just gonna look at the trade as a whole here. So when I look at what I would do with Jacobs, so Jacobs right now, going in with this potential holdout talk and all that, I don't foresee how it makes sense for him to hold out, but I do know he's not happy. He's playing on the franchise tag, and I think by and large, the Raiders are going to try to, as long as he comes and plays, give him a ton of work. And he came off of a phenomenal year last year where he was, speaking of WoRP, constantly in the high-end assets in this league specifically. We're looking at 2.07 WoRP, literally like sitting right there with Justin Jefferson. So obviously an asset you want to have. Now, when I look at the structure of this deal, though, okay, so acknowledging all that, but understanding Jacobs doesn't have a guaranteed contract after this year. He's kind of at a peak in value from what we ever foresaw, given how he was, high at one point coming off of his rookie season, and then he's kind of bled value for the rest of the time until last year, just popping off that crazy season. Like, if I have Jacobs on my contenders, I'm probably not going to move him for something light. But here's the thing with this, right? Okay, so 1 for 1 for a 25 first. If you want to tell me it's too far out, Okay, I won't fight you. For me, I think I'm probably in a lineup league that start 10. I'm probably going to just liquidate my Josh Jacobs for a first. 25 first, I can understand if you just want to hold. Like, I'd rather have a 24. If you can get a 24, I'm probably liquidating. But here's the thing. Now, if you throw a second in, I'm definitely getting off of Jacobs right now. You throw in Singletary. I'm not a big Singletary guy. I'm going to tell you just straight up. Him going to Houston, don't love the situation. Don't like any of that. But when I think about just getting another running back that has an opportunity, I mean, not going to be anything sexy. I still really like Dameon Pierce. I think he could have a great season. But Singletary's there. If Dameon Pierce gets hurt, something happens. Could be a guy that you want to start in the lineup start 10. So you add that in plus a 25 first, plus a 24 second. Then here's the thing. You get to offload a defense. Like I'm not even going to try to evaluate what the hell a defense is fucking worth in these leagues. I'm not doing it, all right? I'm out here by myself. I'm not evaluating the fucking defenses for you guys. If you can forget about it. Certified ass man taking that defense is a certified ass man. But the other piece you're getting is Tucker Kraft. So with Musgrave going there, like I was all about getting Kraft at the discounted value. But let's take a look at WoRP. And I think the reason that Cody's going to smash this deal out of the park for me is a few things, right? So let's just take a peek here. So you look in Jacobs, yes, absolutely could be a league winner. If you have a contender, you may have a hard time trading off of him now. You may not want to, right? You think about it, you just don't want to trade off of him. I get it. But look at how WoRP goes, okay? So the running backs, when you look at it, that running back line sticks with receiver the whole way through. So the scoring of this and the way it's set up, like running backs that are down the line here are just as valuable as receivers. I mean, they're all not super, super high WoRP. So Jacobs maybe possesses the highest WoRP in a league like this. Very different at 2. But think about what you're getting back in value. You're getting Singletary, who you want to roster in a league like this. But you're getting off of Tucker Kraft. Like, look at Tucker Kraft here. Now, you don't have, obviously, WoRP from him last year. But just look at, like, what do we really project for him? He's dealing with Musgrave. He's a rookie. And, like, there's value for what? Like, look at how WoRP goes. Really, you got one in the top 4. So you got, obviously, Kelsey way high. Top 5 guys around 1 in WoRP in this league. And then you really start to go to nothing. So, like, for example, a tight end 20 in this league, 0.2 in WoRP, I don't care. Basically, unless you project Tucker Kraft to find a way in a couple years to take over the tight end 1 position and this offense be high passing enough to where he's going to be a real top, like, 8 tight end, I don't really care about Tucker Kraft. I'd rather get someone that's cheaper and older that doesn't carry any type of dynasty with it you could throw into a deal. So I'm perfectly fine getting off of him and the defense. You give me a second that I can go use to buy running back spot starts later, and you give me that 25 first, I'm taking the side. I'm taking the process side here. Listen, Jacobs, you did really well for a lot of my fantasy teams. I'm sure you did well for Cody last year, but for this price, I'll help you pack your bags, man. It's time to get up out of here. Good deal, Cody. I like the process of it here. You're also betting against Certified Ass Man, which if he's making deals like this, personally for me, there's a lot of risk on his team. I'd like to have some of his draft picks. So, all right, let's move on to the next one here. Mighty Booch, 12-team Superflex lineup start 10. So staying in the same lane as far as the settings, the league, everything. Goodell's Dirty Dozen. You got to love that, man. Goodell's Dirty Dozen. All right, so let's take a look at the trade first and foremost. So right now we're looking at Stefon Diggs, a 25 first, and T. Higgins. Like, I don't understand. Like, there's times you need to look at WoRP, and there's times you don't. And sometimes even when I don't, I'll pull it up just to see. Try to make a case in point. This is a receiver for receiver trade. There's a first-round pick involved. And frankly, the person on the first side has the best chance to finish higher in WoRP. I don't need a chart to know this. I've looked at so many WoRP charts. I've seen points per game, played in all these leagues. Everybody watching it knows too. Like, this is crazy. I mean, I've been a T. Higgins defender at times because, it's a little criminal with his value, and people are, starting to put him like outside the top 10, 12 at times. I'm just not letting that happen. I'll buy him for prices which reflect that. But if I can get Stefon Diggs like T. Higgins right now doesn't have that top 3 upside type thing. Like Stefon Diggs actually still does. Okay, he's getting older. I know there's a situation. Oh, it's not happy in Buffalo. Miss me with that, especially when you get back a first to really offset any type of age or cliffing or injuries that could come your way. This is just I got nothing to say. That's just crazy. It's criminal. Mighty Booch out here doing people dirty. Might want to lay low. You may want to lay low. That's crazy. This is on this show, which is growing. People are not going to like seeing that if you're in the league. So well done. Great deal. Not really a lot of analysis there. Giving up a 25 first to go from Diggs to Higgins. Like, even if you say Diggs gets hurt, there's not enough upside with T. Higgins for me to ever even justify thinking about that in the slightest. Okay, so now, sorry, y'all, I got to get a drink. I'm out here talking the whole time. No mic to, normally when Mike's talking, I can just get drunk. He's not here to keep talking, so it's all me. Anyway, beware the hair. DJ Moore and Devon Achane for Tyreek Hill. Hefty Hoss is acquiring Tyreek Hill. Had to pull this one. I looked at it, and I thought the names were reversed initially. And so then I'm seeing, all right, it's our patron getting the DJ Moore and Achane side. So, all right, we got to talk about this one. It's a 12-team Superflex PPR Start 11 lineup league. Okay, so first and foremost, it's lineup Start 11. Not quite on the really, really shallow side, but shallower. Obviously, at Start 11, though, you're probably looking at, 3 flexes and 3 receivers, which does make it a little deeper as far as your lineup goes. Now, this is the European Football Conference. So when I see a deal like this, like my initial thoughts are already, okay, full PPR, Tyreek Hill, all the nonsense going on in the offseason right now. And I like DJ Moore going over to Chicago. I think he could be someone that gives you very good, mid-wide receiver 2 type production. Maybe wide receiver 15 type if we're, having a good year out of him. I like that. And Achane, like realistically, he has home run ability, absolute track speed, and an offense that came from the Shanahan system where it's zone read. And if you get into one of those lanes, and he could be gone. So he could end up being one of these guys where he has some really big boom weeks. But he's also a small frame. We don't know. There's other running backs there that they're very comfortable with, Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson. I know it's not sexy. I'd much rather see Devon Achane get all the touches, but with his small frame and with their comfortability with those other backs, I don't know what his workload projects. So I'm already leaning the Tyreek Hill side, frankly. And I just had to pull this up to see in WoRP what we're really looking at here. So, Kupp, I got to get on Kupp, man. Kupp, I pull these up early, and, it's out here. It's stalling. Live time. I'm by myself. I think Kupp was resting on his laurels. We got to get him in check, man. Nah, just playing. So we'll take a look at this once it's ready to go and load it up. All right, so we got the WoRP up. And let's just take a look and see really what we're looking at here with WoRP and, is this justified? And my initial thought would be, okay, if I'm going to do this, is this a league where the wide receiver position really isn't awarded much at the top? So you take a look at this line. And one of the easy ways to do it is just go ahead and for the first part, just take out the ones and the lines that are kind of in the way. So I take out quarterback and running back, and I'm looking now, and I'm seeing last year, Jefferson 2.67, Tyreek Hill 2.30, Devontae Adams 2.16. You got guys, the top 5, 6, 7 guys, they're hovering around 2 in this league, and they can go ahead and 2 in WoRP. So, just in a lineup Start 11, the security I have in Tyreek Hill, man, it really makes me want that side already, seeing this line. Now, admittedly, right, so it's not super, super steep after that. There's not this crazy drop-off. For example, because it is Start 11, and you're looking at the scoring, and you'll see here that we're looking at, wide receiver 14, 1.09, and wide receivers 20s right around 105. So there's not – it really kind of it doesn't get super steep. It is steep enough. But then look at all this. All these receivers in this range realistically all the way to 30, 35 even. There is some WoRP to be had there, but it's not difference making, right? It's really not going to make your break your team. So Like DJ Moore in this format would be something I do want because we do have to start 11. If you look at the roster construction, you're going to see you want 5 to 6 receivers. So, DJ Moore can absolutely be a part of that for me, and I'm cool with that. But at the cost of Tyreek Hill, who can be a difference maker, I don't like that. Now, let's talk about the running back line, and let's talk about why I would either take or not take this deal. And this is where, for me, I just don't like it. And I'm going to explain why and try to give you the context behind it. So when I look at this running back line, what do we think realistically? And I'll be honest, to project what Devon Achane is going to be this year is very, very hard. I mean, I see a lot of scenarios. I actually just had Blitzing Buzzard was in my DMs today. What do you think about him? How strong do you feel? And I just said iffy because I like him. I see a scenario where if he gets enough touches and stays healthy, he could have some crazy big high weeks. But I also don't think the touch count's going to be very consistent. And I'm very, very split on him as far as like a deal of this magnitude. Now, obviously, I have plenty of shares of him. I'm very in on Achane, and I like him in that offense. I think it could be good. But realistically in WoRP, with that frame, with those touches, like to me, to make this deal, I'd want to say that he would have to be a top, like have a real chance to be a top 12 back, where you're looking around 1 in WoRP. And I can say, all right, now I can justify this 2 for 1 maybe. But here's the thing, even then, when I see that it's a lineup start 11, look at the names that are in this list. And the other thing about it is WoRP is run weekly, and I want you to think about that because that's how you're going to play with your team in a lineup league. Devon Achane in lineup is not a necessity. I can find a way to roster any running back on a 53, have a bunch of them on my bench, spot by, as gross as it sounds, Jamal Williams, who's going to give you last year around 1 in WoRP, James Conner types. Miles Sanders last year you could buy for even a second plus if you had to, right? These guys will give you WoRP, probably what Achane can, but they don't have that youth rookie hype right now. Personally, I'm not a fan of this deal. Personally, like I would much rather have the Tyreek Hill side. Let me know what you think. If I'm wrong, I'm out here. I'm going to tell patrons if they made it wrong. I'm sorry. Mike's not here to defend it. I'm good with staying with Tyreek Hill in this league here. He's one of the guys I think that can be a top 5 receiver, and as long as he's playing, I think for the next couple of years he's going to be one. Like DJ Moore, like Devon Achane, but in a deal like this, I would rather consolidate and have the Tyreek Hill side and find a way to replace Achane at a much cheaper value somewhere else. So that's my analysis. Love it or not, don't care. All right, let's get into it's going to be a bloodbath here, ladies and gentlemen, these next few. All right, so there was no league in there. There was no true settings other than it is a super flex lineup league and a startup. And I don't care what they are. All right, let me read the trade first. All right. Y'all, this is insane. 101. So that's Patrick Mahomes. Now, this is where, I don't understand. The psychology of people and how they differ on shit is wild to me. You watch last one, we're talking about in a league that I'm in with Nick, Fade the Fetal, where there's a manager that is in a rebuild that has Kyler Murray and literally said in there, I guess I'm going to have to let Kyler die on my team since nobody wants him. And he traded him away with a package of Hollywood Brown and of Trey McBride, right? All 3 of those guys go away. He gets back Javonte, Jawan Johnson, and a first, which currently projects late. So there's so much panic on Kyler Murray. But then, so this is what's crazy about this deal. This is Patrick Mahomes, the 101, and the 1612. Let me read the deal out. Being acquired by Moss ESQ. Sending away 24 first, the 307, and the 912. Now, when you read this deal on the 307 side, you see that Kyler Murray's drafted. So this is what's hilarious to me. Kyler Murray goes and is drafted at the 307 by Moss ESQ. And this manager at that point, somewhere between then and the 912, because you can see that the 912 has not been drafted yet, they go, you know what, something hasn't gone right, or they see something they want to get from the 912, or they're not convinced that their team's going to be that great now all of a sudden. They're taking the 912 in a lineup league. I don't even care how many starters it is. The 912 is very iffy. We can pull up some startup ADP just to give you some names for it, but it's very iffy on that level as far as who you're going to get there. So I'm looking at Superflex with the rookies in it right now. And the 9-12. So you're in the range of David Montgomery, Mike Williams, Michael Mayer, Kendre Miller, Sam Laporta, Mike Evans. Right? So that type of a player that he's probably going to draft unless he ends up moving that pick to get the 24 first of the person you're sending Patrick Mahomes to for Kyler Murray in that package. What? I don't know how in the world you do this after that pick has been realized as Kyler and you get the 9-12 and the 24 first. Like, realistically, and I like Kyler at a discount. A 9th round startup pick and a 24 first is not even close. Not even relatively close for me to get Patrick Mahomes. Now, the 16-12 I could really care less about, but the fact that there's something else in this deal is also just hilarious. So, no, man. I need Mike back. The chaos is getting too crazy. I need something good to happen. This is just getting crazy. All right. 12-team Superflex start. I don't know how many starters. I probably typed that in wrong. So 12-team, I'm not sure how many starters. Let me pull it up. It is a PPR league with 2 tight end premium. Juice quarterback scoring is what he says. Now, Super Kamaro's World is the new patron with this deal. And let's just acknowledge this deal is not looking close in value. The fact that it says Juice quarterback scoring, though, I really wish, and I reached out to the manager, like, what league is this? I would have loved to have just seen what WoRP looked like for this league because, man, it's crazy. Okay, here we go. Ryan Edwards says, I don't know for sure, but I think it's Nightmare on Wall Street Dynasty. All right. Ryan Edwards might be coming through. Look at Ryan trying to come through and save the day. I'll pull up the WoRP because it's not – the deal is Jeff Wilson and AJ Brown being acquired by Super Kamaro's World for Jared Goff. So, yeah, it's not like, hey, this is – oh, well, look at this deal. This makes a lot of sense. But – like, I just want to see in WoRP, is this one of these leagues where the juice quarterback scoring actually means something for, like, is this one of those where the red line is just significantly higher than the skill players? And even then, I probably won't defend it, but I could at least see why the economy exists and the panic exists for a move like this to take place. So let me just pull this up. First of all, we're kind of getting off the rails because I'm going off of Ryan's advice in the Shithead Trades channel. And this is not actually coming from Super Kamaro's World. But okay, I think this is probably it, and I can see it because you look at this line, and it's not drastic. Now, at the top 4, obviously pretty drastic. So Jalen Hurts still was equal to basically ahead of Travis Kelce in this league, which is crazy. But you look and that red line does hover and stay ahead. And if you think about it, right, like Jared Goff was probably knocking on the door. Let's see where he was specifically here. So Jared Goff is where? Jared Goff's right there, quarterback 10. So last year, right, you're looking at a guy that at quarterback 10 at 1.63 WoRP. I mean, he's giving you the same WoRP as Tyreek Hill. So, like, this is all right. This is one of those where at least the WoRP does signal to me why it would exist, why this trade would exist. WoRP for A.J. Brown is 1.27. Now, let me talk about why I still want the A.J. Brown side and why I don't want to be the person that's getting the Morg Brad 97 side, even knowing all that juice scoring and how important they are. Like, I thought Jared Goff played very well last year. I think there's a extension probably coming. It's in the cards for him. I could see him being a above replacement player at quarterback again this year, but it's also not certain, and he's not a sexy asset that moves for much typically. So, like, if I'm Super Kamaro's World and I actually do have 2 or 3 other legit quarterbacks that are in that top 18 range, because if you can look at the 18, looking at almost 1 in WoRP. So the difference between like quarterback 18, let's say, and Jared Goff, yes, it's real. But if you have 2 or 3 other legit ones that are in the range that aren't getting too far outside, A.J. Brown is, I think, someone in this league that does matter quite a bit. And just his market is so stable in a lineup league. I think here I'm still going to take the A.J. Brown side, but WoRP at least shows me and it makes sense why someone would make a deal like this. And Newton's 95 is not happy. Newton's 95 is not happy. ... I'm still taking the A.J. Brown side there, but WoRP at least shows you it's why a deal like that might exist. And truthfully, like the top 15, 20 quarterbacks in a league like this are going to drive pricing. So that's why a deal like that gets done. All right. Speaking of crazy things and needing to get back on track, Lightning Panda 814. Lightning Panda 814 is a new patron of ours, and he came in, he or she, I don't actually know, but came in and absolutely lit up the Shithead Trades channel. I mean, I have it right over here, so I'm just going to go ahead and read through exactly how many it was. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 deals. 15 deals Lightning Panda puts in the Shithead Trades channel. If you saw the last one we did with Nick, like we did an entire breakdown of the league, but I had another content creator that him and I were in the same spot, and we could talk about the league and our teams as a whole. But I thought, like, man, we could literally do a whole trade show on Lightning Panda and all these deals, but I can't do that. I got other people's deals to put in here. But what I do have is the final two. Sorry, actually, it's the final 3 deals. But we're gonna look at this one here first, and then there's gonna be 2 made in unison, back to back in the same league in the following trade here. But let's look at this one first. Lightning Panda 814, who's out here just savaging deals. 15 deals dropped in the Shithead Trades channel this week. Jackson Smith and Jigba and a 24-second being acquired. It's Big Loose's 24-second. Big Loose is getting Cooper Kupp and Tyler Lockett. All right, so, man, it's interesting. Here I am, with Scott on AMA talking about how I think a lot of these leagues are going more to leaning into the value is on the contending pieces. And we got 2 patrons that are out here essentially acquiring, the youth side and sending away, like, Tyreek Hill was sent away in a deal that wasn't. And I look at this and I'm like, man, and I got the context of this one right here. Let me make sure I get it accurate. Scrolling through here. Okay. So it's a 12-team Superflex PPR lineup, start 9. I'm a contender, but wanted to get younger, and I'm betting JSN makes the leap. I still have Tyreek, J. Jeff, Keenan, and Godwin. In the starting lineup, I have 224 first to work with. The league name is Brewski Tuski. Okay, so there's the context. And, man, I have a hard time with this one, so I'm going to run the WoRP here on this league. But so you're already a contender. It's already really, really shallow starters, right? So think about a lineup start 9, right? So in a lineup start 9, what you're really looking at is you got 7 players that aren't the QBs, where you can get into the mix of, like, you just want to consolidate those down. You got 7 players that you can try to get essentially hammers and the most wins above replacement, essentially points per game differences between the rest of your league mates. Like, so in lineup start 9, I'm already thinking on a contender. Give me all of those pieces that have high-end WoRP upside on this team if you're still a contender running it back. All right, so first and foremost, let's take a look at this WoRP here. Lineup start 9, I'm already thinking, I don't know how many roster spots we have in this one, but like when you just look at this, and it makes so much sense, a full PPR league. Look at this blue line. Look at this, right? Like, you're talking about Justin Jefferson's 2.54. So he's basically Josh Allen last year, right? And you're looking at Tyreek Hill over 2. You're looking at Devontae Adams over 2. Stefon Diggs 1.75. And I'm looking, and I'm just seeing is Cooper Kupp's 8, right? 1.26. Now, one thing I can do is also run it 1 through 9, and I think the graph doesn't do this. The table can. You can go to points per game and sort it. But I'm going to run it 1 through 9 as well, just so you can see, right? Cooper Kupp, number 1 in this league in that time frame, right? So when you think about what he could become, obviously there's risk, right? Matthew Stafford, what's he going to be? What's this Rams offense going to be? But when I see what he could be worth in points per game, and you attach it to an offense and a team that has Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson, like, seriously, just think about this now. Lightning Panda, I think here's my problem with the deal, and I'll get into it, but you could have been sitting on absolute warp monsters in Jefferson and in Tyreek Hill and in Cooper Kupp. Now, you still got Keenan and Godwin, but I don't actually foresee, especially Godwin, having this high warp upside. I don't, with no really good quarterback there, unless Baker Mayfield plays out of his ass and is just, some form of this really decent quarterback we saw for a while in Cleveland for a year. Like, it's not coming. So I just think about it, and it's a lineup start 9. Like, I can definitely start 3 receivers with monster warp in a league like this and win it. Then you look at Tyler Lockett, and I understand maybe wanting to move off of him on a build like this where you have other older guys. So, like, I'm not going to kill the deal with Lockett. But what I'm getting back here, JSN, like, I like him a lot. And I think he's got great dynasty value, but I am concerned with realistically what he will mean in warp in a lineup start 9 in his rookie season. Not to say that he can't ever be a dog in the future and become a warp monster himself. Like, I could see it in the cards, but like, if he's not a top 15 receiver, which honestly, if he was the top 15 receiver in warp and in points per game, that'd be really good for him in his rookie season. Like, that's no slight on JSN. Honestly, that would be a great way for him to be. He's at 0.8. Like, if he goes to 20, 0.77. And the point I'm trying to make here is, unless he gets to this top 12 and above, look at how this line goes, right? It's really, really flat. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's not much warp here from 13 down to 30. There's just not. Like, yeah, of course, it's 0.33 to 0.81, but that's not in a lineup start 9 going to be something that gives you a difference maker that can help you win. Now, so you could say, all right, well, you still got Jefferson, and you still got Jefferson, who's got Tyreek Hill, right? You still got those 2 guys. You got the first to play with. But if I have this build and I had those first, you didn't get those first back here, right? Like, I'd rather just ride out Cooper Kupp and go have a real shot to cause and wreak havoc and win this league. And I can worry about getting a JSN type later. I know you say, well, a JSN type, there's not that many of them. I get it. But I don't know. You just don't get a first back in any way. I'm not saying you should get a first with Cooper Kupp, but you send away Lockett and Kupp. You're getting back JSN, who maybe isn't a difference maker right now, to kind of backfill your youth. And for me, like, I would rather just stayed with those 2 liquid first, and probably at that point leaned into this win now team I have. That's my personal take on it. Let me know if you guys differ on this lineup start 9. What you're seeing here in this warp chart. Where are you guys? Would you take the JSN in the second here? Try to go leverage that second with your other picks into something else? Or would you have tried to stay and bet on Cooper Kupp being a warp monster for another season? Let me know what you think. All right, so let's get into the last 2 trades that we're going to go over today. So Lightning Panda, I had to do this, man. There are so many trades in there from the Lightning Panda. This one at least was, he had several of these, I believe, but this one is back-to-back. So let's start and understand. I got these in the wrong order, trying to do this, last minute. But the bottom trade is what was the first trade. Okay, so this is a 12-team Superflex PPR lineup start 10. Coolest Dynasty fam, take 2. All right, so I'll work on pulling up the warp for that. And we're looking at, for this deal, it's Tyreek Hill, Cam Akers, and a 24 first being acquired by Rav Urbine, who's getting Christian McCaffrey, Cooper Kupp, and a 24 third. So Lightning Panda is liquidating Cooper Kupp, apparently. Not buying it this year. Now, at least here, you're getting back Tyreek Hill. So you're staying in that same warp, high-end warp, and I definitely favor Tyreek Hill over Cooper Kupp. So I get that one completely. All right, so when I look at this first deal, right, you're getting rid of Cooper Kupp and Christian McCaffrey in a third. Okay, so you're getting back Tyreek Hill. You're getting back, someone I've been staunchly defending, Cam Akers, but I will admit doesn't really hold a candle to McCaffrey, frankly, as much as I love him. But you're getting the 24 first, and it's of Rav Irby. I don't even know what I'm saying here with this damn name. But all right, so when I look at this deal, Tyreek Hill and Cooper Kupp, I lean Tyreek Hill. Similar bets, but I think Tyreek Hill has better dynasty value and a little more value insulation than Cooper Kupp, even though both of them, if they were to get a significant injury, not looking good. You saw what happened with Cooper Kupp when he got hurt last year. Now, Akers to McCaffrey isn't really that close, but the massive difference, lineup start 10, is getting that 24 first for the 24 third. And why I think that's so big, I don't even have to talk about, because the deal that happens next, the one that you see up top, speaks exactly to what I would get into, right? I can do so many different things with this first now. And you basically look at this deal. So what's happening here when you sum it all up? That wasn't actually his 24 third, but realistically, you now take that first, you attach your second to it, and you go get Tua Tagovailoa, which in a league like this, right? This is why I love looking at WoRP, because I think right now there are people like a first and a second for Tua, like the concussions, he's uncertain. I'd rather go buy someone north of that. Okay, let's look at WoRP. This line for the red line, it stays and hovers above all the skill players relatively when you get to quarterback 18, right? Look at that WoRP. So, for example, Tua last year, even though the games where he was not playing well towards the end, he still was quarterback 16 in this league, a full 1 WoRP. When you think about that, like that translates to what Cooper Kupp is. And in Superflex, you get to put that person in your Superflex spot or quarterback spot and be solidified. So the crazy part when you think about this in totality, he's sending away Christian McCaffrey, Cooper Kupp, a third and a second, right? And he's getting back Tua, Tyreek Hill, and Akers. Love that. I love that deal in totality for him. You get a little bit better, slight upgrade in Tyreek Hill, I think. You definitely take the downgrade in McCaffrey to Akers. And, like, you know, if McCaffrey stays healthy, obviously at 2-0 WoRP in a league like this, that definitely matters. But I think Akers is primed to be someone that could be around, you know, a top 12 to 18 back this season, somewhere in that range, which you look at it, and that isn't going to give you what McCaffrey could. But McCaffrey also has injury history and that issue on himself. But you're getting the quarterback here. And when I look in a league like this where the WoRP is so high at quarterback, especially, this is the type of league that if I'm getting the quarterback and then ultimately I'm getting the stack here, I want Lightning Panda's side and what he did here pretty easily. So, you know, split on the two different deals that you're making. There's 15. I didn't have time to grade them all, but I talked about 3 of them. So appreciate everybody joining the Patreon, all the new patrons out there. Patreon.com/South Harmon. If you want your deals featured on this show, like Lightning Panda, like all these different people were today. Pretty good trade show. I thought there was a good amount of deals in there, 10 deals in total. Let me know what you think of the deals. Let me know, what am I crazy? Am I wrong? Am I terrible on my own? You know, is this terrible advice? I need Mike back. I need a guest back. Tell me what you think of it. Go down, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought of the deals. Personally, I thought there was some absolute landslides in there for the patrons. Thought there was a few mistakes that were made as well. So a good amount of deals. And Ryan, man, you make a deal with McNutted while he's drunk and he wins the deal. I don't like it. I don't like seeing that. Now I got to hear about it all next week when he gets back from Florida. So I appreciate everyone tapping in. Once again, if you could, to go down, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. If you like the WoRP tool, if you like me talking about WoRP in the different dynamics of the league, I'm going to continue doing it. But if you like seeing the charts, seeing how it works, seeing how I'll actually leverage that, 2 things. Let me know in the comments that you do like it and you want to see a little more of it, or tell me no, get that stuff out of here. I just want to hear the breakdowns of the trades and the players. Either way, I'm going to use WoRP some, and Mike and I are both going to do that moving forward. But we could, you know, lean into it a little more if that's something you guys are feeling. But I will say this, regardless of that, if that's something you are digging, be on the lookout for Dynasty Mind WoRP, which is going to be coming out here next couple weeks. We're hoping to get it out before August. The Dynasty Mind WoRP series with Scott is going to be, and myself, Scott, I think it's really, really good. And if you're into WoRP and you're into roster construction and how they both can merge, that's something you got to check out. So be on the lookout for that when we announce that it is officially dropped. Other than that, that's all I got. Next week, you know, we'll get the overlay back. We'll get the big guy back in here. He'll be gloating about all the deals he's made and, you know, coming off vacation. So appreciate everyone tapping in. Hope to see you back here, same time, same place next week for the Dynasty Trade Show. I'm out of this thing. Peace.